So today we're going to start doing something a little different than usual. Today we have the privilege of interviewing a Hong Kong protester. For his safety, we will not be revealing any information about him, and he will be using a voice changer. We only ask that you listen conscientiously, and please share this video, because if even half of what he says is true, then what's happening in Hong Kong is truly horrifying.
I wanted to ask you, when did you first protests?
You mean for the anti-extraditional bill protest, right? Or
Yes.
just okay. I was participate in the June 9th protest, where there's 1 million Hong Kong people went up to the street for protests, and that's the start and for the whole thing.
Okay, so you've been involved with these protests for a while then. Kind of goes right into the next question. Why did you decide to get involved with these protests?
Because I'm a citizen of Hong Kong, and I am concerned about the future of Hong Kong if we just won't fight for the freedom. As the extraditional bill will just take away our freedom, as China will just come here and arrest us, a citizen, if we just don't agree to the Communist Party. And I'm just afraid of this will happen, and just all of the one country, two system stuff will just be ruined, and I don't want that to be happen.
Okay.
All right. And question about kind of the media perception and coverage. Specifically, I don't know if you've seen Western media in Hong Kong, and if you know China. Do you think the coverage of the protests has really shown the police brutality and to what actually the protesters are all about and what's actually happening?
Actually, from what I read, Hong Kong local newspaper are like having more police brutality news than other foreign news like BBC or other stuff. Yeah, so I think the foreign countries can just report more of the police brutality and just show the world about how Hong Kong is like now.
So are you saying that just to be clear, are you saying that the foreign media is showing a lot more of the police brutality than what the Chinese and Hong Kong media is showing?
Oh no, I mean Hong Kong local newspaper. I mean, there's only a few which are supporting protester and other like China media. So for some newspaper, they always show about the police beating up protesters, and some when they were being arrested. But some in China, they never tell about that. Only in some newspaper in Hong Kong just review that, and some don't.
Okay, all right, I get you now. So there is some difference in how the media reports it there, but a lot of it is pro-China and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right, and sort of jumping off of that, what do you think about the world's response to the Hong Kong protests? Do you think it's sufficient or insufficient?
I think it's sufficient enough because it's better than the 2014 umbrella movement from what I see, and it got the attention for like both the U.S. for the human rights law, which was passed like a few days ago, and they will just have some stuff to do with the higher ranks and I mean the Hong Kong economics and stuff. So I think it's enough for now. I mean, it can be do more, but I think it's enough for now.
Okay. So a while ago, actually just a few days ago, I stumbled across a message that seemed to be from the students trapped within PolyU. I'd like to read that to you, and then I'd like to get your thoughts on it and have you tell us whether or not you think it's true, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So the message is, we're a group of people who've been trapped in PolyU for the past 30 plus hours. We're physically drained. However, Hong Kong government does not even give us an option. In this whole day, whenever we tried to find a way, the police aimed their guns at us with rubber bullets. The worst happened around 1 to 2 p.m. The police tried to make us panic and recreate the tragedy of people stepping on each other in Civic Tower on June 12th by shooting over 100 cans of tear gas at once to make us suffocate. Many of us could not breathe and were detained. Even under very thick smoke, the police still shot us with rubber bullets with distance under 1 meter. They did not arrest anyone, but just kept shooting at us. Therefore, everyone remains at PolyU is injured. We have no idea if we can make it through tonight, and we don't know if we can see the dawn tomorrow. So I guess I was just wondering, was that something that was made by people within PolyU, do you think, or how valid do you think is that message? How true do you think it is?
I would say it's 50-50. It's partly true that the police keep on firing tear gas at the midnight around Tip Century and the PolyU area non-stop, and just bullets, beanbag bullets, and all the stuff like that. But the news didn't really report about people stepping on each other. Yeah. I mean, I read for almost every newspaper, and I don't really see that was being reported for like a long, just only a sentence, and there's no evidence or pictures or videos about it.
Okay, so you think that it's somewhat credible, but 50-50 as to whether or not all of it happened. And I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the end of it. Did you say you thought it may have come from a journalist rather than a protester?
Because I didn't see any image or video about the people stepping on each other one, so I can't say it's 100% true. Because no one has taken photos or videos about it, so I can say it's true or not.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Peyton, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, sure. So what is the choice wording, but what is the scariest thing you've witnessed or know to be true about the transpired regarding the protests?
I mean, there's a few, but yeah, 2 months ago, there was a girl who was being thrown into the sea by the police, and there was evidence of it, since that girl was 15 years old, and she left the school barefoot and just walked to the sea and just suicide. And she didn't wear any clothes when the police discovered her body. And rumors said that was the girl that went missing for a few days. I mean, I can't really explain it really good, because I tried.
So, are you alleging that the police are behind the disappearance of this 15-year-old girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people have gone missing through this few months. I would say also the 31st of August Prince Edward station attack, where the police went into the trains and just spraying the pepper spray at normal passenger, and many of them just gone missing. Nobody even found them.
Okay. A kind of follow-up question to that. What happens to the protesters who are arrested? What happens to them?
some of them are being released, and some of them being at court right now, and they can just still do anything, but yeah, they're being charged for rioting, having weapons, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, kind of wanted to ask a question. This has been in the news a lot about Hong Kong's increasing. Has this directly impacted your life in any way? And are you many other Hong Kong protesters that the reason for these high suicide rates is because of China to the protests?
Actually, I think they're being suicide by the police. Like, the police push them off to commit suicide. There's a video a few months ago. There's a man shouting, "Somebody is pushing me to death," and that guy just died. I mean, somebody who really went to suicide won't say stuff like that. They can speak in Chinese about the police pushing me off to their building and stuff around like that. And that guy just was like claims to quote unquote suicide. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a lot of these suicides you think aren't suicides.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Kind of to switch gears from that a little bit, what do you think is the best strategy for the protesters to quote unquote win or have their demands met?
I would say just well for a longer time. Like we can do some protests that just not like evening times, maybe at the midnight, so when most people don't know it, just suddenly attack them, and that might work. But it wasn't done. But there's some morning protests last week, and it was quite successful, I would say.
Okay. My next question, I guess, is are the protests organized? And if they are, can you tell us a little bit about how they're organized?
Yeah. Some protests are organized and some are not. Like, um, protests are like, um, when you just want people to go to protest and just support some, rules and just, like, now there's a lot of tear gas being released and there's some protests about, some parents just protest about their kids, getting, too much, toxic substance from the tear gas. But mostly, there's a platform called LYHKG, where people will just post activity to like, block the government from working, um, just stop the road from working and just trying to do something to hurt the economy, and that will just, maybe they will hurt the government, and they will just respond to our demands.
Okay, so you're taking the strategy of hit them where the money is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my question happens to be, so there have been a lot of efforts by people in the West who want to try to help you, and some people are raising money to give to the protesters to become more organized. People who are taking a more radical step, who want to actually arm Hong. Are you against this kind of thing, or do you think this would be inevitable for Hong Kong?
I mean, I would agree to use some more weapons to just attack the police, since the police are also using more weapons to attack barracks. So also the police said the protester is as strong as the police, but this is false. I mean, that's not true, right? The police have been releasing too much tear gas, real bullets that water cannon cover just shoot blue colors out, and there will just not just harm the protesters and just also the environment and just buildings and stuff.
Right. Uh, so off of that, I just wanted to ask, do you think though, like, are you worried about the safety of you or any other protesters when you go out to protest?
Oh yeah. So if there's too much normal citizens, I mean like when they just go on the street and just do some shoppings and we will not throw bricks at them. I mean we will not throw bricks at the police because we are scared to hurt the other citizens on the street. We will just mostly use our weapons when there's only police but not much normal citizens right there.
Okay. What would you say to people who disagree with your methods for changing society, and that being the protesting? What would you say to people who disagree with your methods?
I mean, we tried to be peaceful since June, but it's the government that teaches us that peaceful just won't work. They just won't reply to our demands, so we have to use violence. I mean, we just can't sit here and just let the police tear gas us, shoot bullets at us, so we must do something.
Okay.
So, yeah, my question, how do you think the Chinese government is going to respond going forward? Do you think that the Hong Kong protest having a positive effect in that maybe China will meet even one of the 5 demand protesters, or do you think it's just going to continue to escalate, especially since we know just the number of troops at the border between Hong Kong quadrupled, and we know that Hong Kong protests or Hong Kong police are pretending to be protesters to commit violence, as reported by one of the Hong Kong legislators who is on your guys' side?
I think like it will just escalate. I think some point that China just won't be able to like handle all this shit and just maybe send a PLA to us and just attack all us protesters. I mean, that might happen. I mean, this there is already China police went to be undercover Hong Kong police. They pretend to be Hong Kong police. Well, I just hear them speaking Mandarin and just there's just no Hong Kong police, I would say. There's certain amount of police in the front line with the protesters and just not real Hong Kongers. They're just from China.
So there are mainland Chinese police undercover within the Hong Kong police?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's already video clips about that.
So you think rather than acknowledging any of the 5 demands, just to be clear, is what you're saying that China will keep fighting these protests?
Yeah, there's already one demand. There was chief, which was the bill was what is was extracted. I mean, it's not in anymore. Yeah. So one of the demands have been fulfilled, but the 4 demands that hasn't been fulfilled. So we will just keep on fighting for that 4.
Okay. The last question that I have for you is, are you hopeful that all this chaos will end favorably for Hong Kong and the people of Hong Kong?
Surely I want Hong Kongers to win this battle, because if we lose, then China's just gonna worse than now. They're going to maybe just brainwash us Hong Kongers and just make Hong Kong no more one country, 2 system. That's what I will say.
So, this is kind of the last stand for you guys, is what you're trying to say, maybe, that there will be no more resistance to the one country, two systems if this doesn't work?
Yeah, if we lose, then bye-bye our freedoms. Then Hong Kong is just like totally China.
Okay. That was my last question for you. Peyton, do you have more questions?
That was my final question as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to interview you and hopefully share it with a lot of the world. I wanted to hear it directly from the source because I wasn't sure, whether to believe some of the Chinese media or some of the Western media that's been following it. And for me at least, this has been really informative, and I think I've learned a lot about the situation in Hong Kong right now. So thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity.
You're welcome.
And with that, Peyton, do you have any last words?
I would just like to thank you for this opportunity. As well, I would like to commend you on your bravery in fighting back against what you view as tyranny, and risking your safety for the sake of freedom. And I think that's very noble, and I best for the Hong Kong people. I've been following this for a while, and I've seen just how bad. I actually had a friend, good online friend, who was arrested. One of the people arrested, a legislator. So I can understand and very much empathize with you.